Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I'm Johnny Fahey. Over the week, we've had some issues in the studio, so this podcast will be audio only. We apologize for the inconvenience. But as always, all the links to everything we talked about will be down in the description below. You guys enjoy. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Let's Talk Ball podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Fahey, and this week I'm joined with Dom Citarella from the Marquette Wire. How are we doing today, Dom?
Doing fantastic.
So we're going to start off this podcast, how we start off every podcast. We're going to go over recent baseball news. So over the course of the last couple of weeks, the MVP voting has gone in. In the AL, Aaron Judge versus Cal Raleigh was a big talk. Who do you think should have won it?
Judge was having a fantastic year. Just to say that. Judge, fantastic, triple crown, near triple crown. But when you look at Cal, 60-plus home runs, playing the catcher at an elite level, I feel like it's hard not to give it to Cal.
Now, it went to Judge, and Judge led the league in RBIs and batting average. But Cal Raleigh had it in home runs. But as you were just saying, the defense for Cal that's such a big point because he had no pass balls the entire year. Mm-hmm. I still think I would have given it to Judge just because his year was unbelievable. He was batting over 330, and Cal was still batting, I think, 256 was the exact average. So I think I have to give it to Cal. Or I have to give it to Judge.
I'm looking at it and I'm like thinking about most valuable player. And, that term gets messed up every now and then because you look at it and you're like, oh, most valuable. And you look at, oh, what's the best player in the league? But if you really want to take a deep dive into most valuable, I feel like Mariners would be nothing without Cal. I don't think they would win the West. I don't think they would, or AL West. I don't think they would win that at all. Cal's season behind the plate, his defensive run saved, it's just something you can't ignore. And that season like that, it's just historic. It makes me want to just, give a co-MVP like what they did with Bonds and Kent.
For sure.
And just both be happy. I feel like entire baseball society would be happy with that.
Yeah. And speaking of most valuable, we'll go over to the NL. Shohei Ohtani.
There's no question.
I mean, Schwarber was kind of in there, but it wasn't even close. Like, the AL's was one of the closest we've had in a really long time.
It was pretty close.
Cal was, I think, 2 votes away from winning the MVP.
He almost got it.
But, I mean, Ohtani almost got unanimous. But, I mean, Schwarber had, 59 home runs, which is, an unbelievable year.
Almost, if you put him in the AL, he's in the race.
He's in the conversation, but he's also batting 210. So it's all over the place. And then another thing in baseball news, Devin Williams goes to the Mets. Now, Dom here is a Mets fan. So what are your opinions on Devin Williams?
Pre-Pete Alonso, Devin Williams is a top 3 reliever in the league.
Yeah, for sure.
And you just can't ignore his last season. You can't ignore the blown saves.
Yeah.
The increase in ERA, the increase in walks, the K per 9 went down, the hits per 9 skyrocketed up.
For sure.
And looking at this Mets bullpen that tried to add Ryan Helsley, tried to add a lot of pieces at the deadline, and they're both gone now, it really needs you to bring back Diaz. And looking at tensions in Queens right now, it doesn't really seem like Diaz is going to come back.
For sure. And
so
that's a big loss for the Mets.
That's Diaz's unbiased opinion. I feel like he's one of the best closers in the last 7 years, ever since he was with the Mariners.
Other than Liam Hendricks.
Liam Hendricks a chat. But if Devin Williams is your closer and you want to win playoff games, it's not going to succeed.
For sure. Now moving on to kind of the meat and bones of today's podcast. Over the last, I think, month or two, I've been doing some research on analytics in baseball. And so I really want to talk about how managers can gain an advantage over other teams in the MLB. And not just in the MLB, but college and youth level, high school. Any level of the game, you can use these analytics. So we'll go through a couple of the articles that I went through. But the first one I went through was on Sports Illustrated. By Tom Verduchi. And the kind of key takeaway I got from that was the managers, they don't really rely on the star closer anymore. Like Mariano Rivera, it was every single time we're putting him in. But now there's a lot of teams that kind of build their bullpen around, let's get a guy in the 6th, and then we'll get a guy in the 7th, 8th. We'll switch it up because they don't have those starters going as many innings anymore. So they have to have a bigger bullpen instead of just having that one main guy. was kind of the key takeaway. And I feel like the Mets have done that a lot recently after the Edwin Diaz injury. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, they definitely were increasing with more openers. And I remember Rays manager Kevin King. Was Kevin King? Kevin Cash?
Kevin Cash.
Kevin Cash really did that in 2020 and 2019. And you look at it and you're like, what the hell is this guy doing? Like he's putting in like Sergio Romo to start, and you're like, what is this guy doing? And it's effective because it messes up everything. It messes up.
Made it to the World Series.
Made it to the World Series and constant playoff success. But with the Mets, they started to do it because these arms that they're relying on all the time aren't producing, and so mixing it up, it just allows them to have an upper hand advantage because whoever's hitting has to adjust to it. Some teams it works, some teams it doesn't, but the Mets have bad luck.
Yeah, Mets are they're up and down all the time.
Mets isn't the right team to talk about this.
They are not. But the Mets had the Edwin Diaz injury after the World Baseball Classic, and they had to kind of do that with the bullpen. But the next article I was talking about was kind of about preventing injury before it actually happened. Looking at kind of their spin rate on every single pitch and how hard the guys were throwing. And my biggest takeaway on that was the finesse pitchers are way more likely to damage their UCL than the fireballers, which really surprises me because when you think of guys that have gotten hurt, you think of Jacob deGrom and Garrett Cole, but those are some of the few, and the rest of the guys in the league that aren't those fireballers they're also getting hurt at a way higher rate. While some guys like Garrett Cole can get up to like 100 pitches, he's gotten to 141, I think was the max. A lot of guys are starting to get pulled at like 75 to try to maximize long-term win probability. Because you want to make a deep run of the playoffs, you can't have a guy getting hurt. So I mean, how do you kind of feel about that? Because I'm not a big fan of the starters coming out of the game really early.
I'm kind of more the opposite. I think managers are trying to win games now. Managers want to win. I mean, it's so hard to win in baseball. It is the hardest sport to win a championship, I feel.
Yeah.
Because you have to be consistent no matter what. And you can be consistent 8 2/3 innings and you can still lose. That's what I love about it. And I feel like these star pitchers, like you saw with Jacob deGrom, and his run with the Mets he was the best pitcher I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. But if you can't keep them healthy, there's no point in having them go 100, 110 pitches and pull them when you're up. And then you pull them, then it allows you to build up your bullpen.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to build up your bullpen. As you see, every last World Series champion has elite bullpens. Yeah. Dodgers have one of the best bullpens I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's crazy.
This year and last year, how they were able to rely on them going 18 innings. And going into the deep innings. And
they had starters coming in. They had Yamamoto.
Yamamoto's a completely different story. That's
ridiculous.
Insane. That was ridiculous.
Not human.
But I think teams are trying to take more of a win-first approach instead of a alkalate approach for these pitchers that want to win Cy Youngs. Even though nowadays you don't even have to pitch 250 innings. You can pitch 200 and still win. Yeah. As we saw with Skeens, he went, 210, 211?
Yeah. And he's amazing. He's unbelievable. It's ridiculous.
I love Paul Skeens. He's the new Jacob deGrom because that's a pitcher that you turn on the game and you just want to watch him pitch. Yeah. Even if he's not your favorite team, you want to watch him pitch.
For sure. White Sox were awful this year, and every single time I saw he pitched against the White Sox twice, and both times I stopped what I was doing to watch because I wanted to see what he was doing.
That splinker he throws,
it's ridiculous.
It's crazy, and he's just coming up with new pitches.
He's just doing whatever he wants.
He's doing it, and it's something that we got to appreciate while it's here because I don't see a lot coming like him. Another pitcher I really like is Chase Burns. I think Chase Burns is awesome to watch. Big flamethrower.
Fun fact: my barber got a 1-of-1 Chase Burns autograph holograph card. It's worth $13,000 or something.
That's awesome.
He was going nuts.
That's awesome. But yeah, these pitchers, I think they're just gonna try to take a win now approach, win first. And that's what you should in baseball, especially because with the salary cap, with the Dodgers, with teams like the
They need a
Yankees.
salary cap. It's ridiculous.
That's a whole nother rabbit hole that we need to go down.
Now moving on, we're gonna go kind of. We were just in the MLB, and now we're gonna move on to youth. So, the youth is changing too with what they're doing. Stuff like Game Changer, which has been around since like 2013. They're finally starting to like be able to use that data that they've, stored for all these years and kind of figure out where they need to put the kids. Like, obviously, when you're in third grade, it doesn't really matter where you're putting the kids because it's all about having fun there. But once you get up to like 7th, 8th grade and it's starting to get like travel baseball and they're cutting kids, they're going to use those to like their fielding percentage when they're in the infield, their fielding percentage when they're in the outfield to figure out their position that they're going to be in for the rest of their life. Like, I don't know, even to minimize the injuries too. They do the exact same thing that they do in the MLB. Obviously, they're not throwing 98 to 100, so it's not as bad. Their break isn't as much. Their spin rate isn't as much. But the biggest thing is these stats are shaping these kids from like 5 years old to 18 years old until they're done playing baseball. But I thought it was really interesting learning about how they're teaching kids how to do it, and in the MLB it's kind of similar. Like I thought that was really awesome.
No, it's definitely cool. I remember using Game Changer ever since I was young, and you just look at it just to like keep stats for your team and then keep your parents updated on the score. But it's great now because youth baseball has been taking, ever since COVID, youth baseball has been on the rise. I mean, you look at all these showcase tournaments. I remember going to a bunch, and it's a completely different world.
For sure.
It's a completely different, even from in the Midwest, compare that down to the South. Baseball is a whole nother level, and it's fantastic because you get to see all these young talents that are MLB, like they could pitch in the MLB with the velocity they have.
Yeah.
And all it is just a matter of time. Like
they have to figure once they hone in their craft.
Once it's all figured out, like no kid in high school is going to be able to hit this kid who's pumping 97 the entire time. I mean, it's outstanding what these kids are doing now.
I also think it's a little bit scary though, because a lot of these youth coaches kind of just they're putting the kids in with no risk. I mean, I was on a team when I was about 14 or 15, maybe even younger. But this guy, the coach, played for the Cubs minor league baseball team. He was drafted, and he just did not care about the kids' like safety. I guess like for our playoff game, he started me in the first game. Then the second game, he asked if I could start again, and I was like, sure, because I didn't know any better. And obviously, I hurt myself because I just threw about 90 pitches the game before, and it was a doubleheader. So it was that afternoon at like 12, and then I had to pitch at 5. So my arm was just like hanging on a thread. Thankfully, I didn't like tear anything, but obviously I was hurt.
Yeah.
But a lot of coaches kind of take advantage of these kids now, trying to, just win games that don't really matter at that point in their careers. So I think that's a little bit scary. But jumping into a little bit of a crossover, Dom, you're a big football guy. I was looking at this article. It was really interesting. NFL teams have now started to hire some baseball analysts, and they're kind of looking at how to prevent quarterback injuries and how to prevent injuries. It's kind of my biggest takeaway there was kind of analytics is now a team's identity. It's not just their strategy that they're using. Like this guy came in and was like, this quarterback should only be playing for 3/4 of a game, and then they should switch out to the other guy. So they should, kind of like a bullpen in baseball, to, minimize injuries. Because these guys in football, it's the highest injury sport in America, and they're just going until they can't anymore.
Right.
Which is extremely dangerous. After their careers, there's nothing but CTE. But I think it was really cool that they were trying to figure out how to use what they're doing in baseball and put it into the NFL.
It's fantastic because it's like you have a traditional person who's trying to throw a football. It's always over the top. But you look at all these quarterbacks now, they're all 3/4.
For sure.
And that's pretty much baseball now, too. You get a few pitchers who throw over the top, and that's your Tyler Glasnows of the world and stuff. But I think it's fantastic, even though football is a little bit different than baseball because the games are so limited, the games are so scarce. You have 17 compared to 162, and you can't, take Caleb Williams out of a third quarter game when you're only up by 7,
For sure.
It's a big risk, but it's good because they look at that and they're their arm paths are starting to get the same. Their arm paths are starting to get similar. And, it's good because in baseball you can prevent those injuries. And in football you can too because you're doing the same action. You're doing the same motion. So, and taking the team identity, it's perfect because these teams are trying to figure out, like, small ball tactics, like small ball and play calls and stuff like that, like Ben Johnson did. And
exactly.
I think it's fantastic. I think turning more scrappy and turning everything like that. You see the Rays, scrappy, turning into a great baseball foundation for players.
They're
fun to watch. They're fun.
They're always, like, just doing something different. They're always experimenting with
which is good.
Field, which is good. Which is great for baseball.
It's fantastic. I mean, everybody you saw the openers. Rays were doing that. Every new trend the Rays did.
Rays started it
with stolen bases and everything, and it's awesome what they're doing
for sure. And now I'm gonna go kind of towards the future and, like, drafting these kids that we were just talking about a little bit ago. I read another article, and they were kind of talking about they studied 379 prospects from the 2018 draft class to see what kind of, like, strength stats, like their leg strength and their arm strength, so that kind of stuff. And they ended up picking, like, really good guys based on just their strength, not just, like, their baseball ability. But my biggest takeaway was, like, the main thing they looked at was the exit speed of the ball and lower body strength. They were two of the strongest ones. But now teams are kind of not going on just gut feeling of, like, baseball skill. In that study, there was Jonathan India, Casey Mize, Nick Madrigal, and even Kyler Murray from the Cardinals. All early picks, and they were all elite athletes. So they're kind of managing the future now, which I think is really cool.
No, it's fantastic when you look at it because you really got to look at body control and how can you stabilize your core. And, first thing in baseball, the first thing to go is your body. And you really got to be able to balance your strength, balance your mind, everything like that. And, I mean, you can take baseball intangibles and look at fastball velocity, but exit velocity is a whole another thing because it's your whole body.
Yeah.
It's not just your arms, it's not just your legs, it's your hips, it's your coordination, it's everything like that. So they're taking more of a deep dive into it, which is perfect. And I think it's peaking right at the right time with all these young athletes and new generation of players. And it's happening at a perfect time. Yeah. Kyler Murray could have been top 10 pick. It was top 10 pick. Could have been a great
baseball player.
Top 10 pick, but
kind of for my final article that I looked at was life after Tommy John surgery. And when you think of that, like, some of the guys that came back, like Jacob deGrom, were throwing like 2 or 3 miles an hour harder. But the biggest thing I found in that article was only, like, it says 3.9% of pitchers return to their full pre-injury form after a year, and only 28% are back after, like, 3 years. So, it's kind of crazy how when you think about people like Garrett Cole, who will be back this year, he'll probably be throwing harder. Jacob deGrom, but all the other guys that are getting hurt, they're not what the player that they once were. So they're trying to figure out whether to re-sign those kind of pitchers or not, managers, or change their pitch mixes, and change the defense of shift. I know that they just banned the shift a couple of years ago, which is awful decision. But moving some of the players in the infield, which are, like, in the bounds of the rules. But it's kind of not just about winning games now for them. It's about rebuilding their careers to help them win the games, which I thought was really interesting.
It's good, but you got to look at all of these teams that produce these players like Jacob deGrom, like Garrett Cole, and what causes these injuries and why they're able to come back is because of their pitching coaches, because of their nutrition staff, because of everything like that. And the people are out there, but these MLB teams are so scared to take a chance on a guy that just had Tommy John. It's one of the worst injuries in sports.
Yeah.
And the reason why none of them ever come back is because they're not getting the right preparation. They're taking 12 months when you should be taking a year and a half.
Yeah.
When you have Tommy John, such a career-altering injury, there's no reason to rush back. There's no reason, especially a guy like Garrett Cole. You're getting paid, $350 million or more, whatever. But there's no reason he should ever rush back. He's going to be a fantastic pitcher, no matter if he is throwing 102 or 97. So these guys, I think MLB is going on more of a prioritizing health, and teams are starting to realize that these pitchers are extremely valuable,
Yeah.
and it's hard to find young pitchers with not only flame throwing but pinpoint accuracy and amazing break that they just aren't going to take that risk anymore of
For sure.
rushing somebody back.
Yeah, I mean, there's no point. But, I mean, looking at all 6 of these articles, there's one main idea that is clear, and that's analytics aren't just changing how managers run the game of baseball. It's changing how they're building rosters, preventing injuries, looking at prospects, developing youth players, and even, like, changing other sports in general, which is just ridiculous that baseball analytics are being able to change everything in sports, which I think is really awesome. And I don't think baseball isn't just the like birthplace of analytics with like Moneyball and stuff like that. It's kind of like the blueprint for other sports, I think, which is really cool. But thank you so much for listening to Let's Talk Ball. I'm Johnny Fahey. Until next time, we'll see you later.